So how are we going? We're going well, is the answer. We've come through 2 years of integration. We're 2 years into a 3-year program, and I'll explain the context of that in a minute. And I can also tell you that we are two years into a 3-year program. What that means, and this is the context to today's discussion, that we always contemplated a one Aurecon business model. We also contemplated a number of other things around integration, but specifically today we're here to talk about the one Aurecon business model. And what is it? Well, what it is a model. Let's be really clear, you're not going to see a structure. Structures are easy, we can all draw a structure. This is actually a model. It's a model and it's a new way of doing business. And the reason we're doing it and the reason we contemplated it in its conceptual form from day one was because we needed ultimately to bring our two zones together. I can also say to you that if you look at the literature and if you look at the statistics, most mergers fail. It's just a cheery note to start with. Most mergers fail. They may not fall back apart or de-merge, but they fail to actually reach their potential. And as we talk through the model today, you'll see that we've kept very much front in mind that that is not going to happen to us, because we're not going to lose sight of why we set out to merge in the first place. So the model's about bringing that leverage together and making sure our focus is on why we got together originally. The second point is that it's about expanding further. And what you'll see today is a bit of a snapshot and a bit of a look into the future. We're actually going to project our minds into 2015 and see what our world might look like in that time. Thanks, Susie. And the third reason is to bring world's best practices to our business. So this model, in fact, in many ways it's simple, but in many ways it's also clever. And it's clever in the sense that we've used some of the best minds in the world, particularly people who've worked in the Deloitte world and other management consulting frameworks, to bring us the best possible model that suits Aurecon. And it positions us beautifully for the future. What I'd like to do is to just walk you through a little bit of how we might look in 2015. And the reason that we put that together, and in fact we've had various versions of that, is it's very, very hard to look up the hill and imagine what it's like at the top. So we took the view that we'd take direction 2015 and we'd in fact turn it around and we'd paint a picture of what it actually means. So the various components of it and what we might look like in 2015. What that then does, of course, is it enables us to discuss how that in turn, how we align with our vision, and that in turn leads into the business model. And also what we thought we'd do is put together a case study. It's always good to work through the various intricacies of how things work. So what we set out to do in 2010 and 2011 and beyond was to achieve our vision. And if you remember, we've always been proud of that vision, leading, vibrant and global. And just to remind ourselves, very simple vision, but a very powerful one. Because what it says is, we don't seek to follow, we seek to lead. And to lead, we have to have the best practices, we have to have the best people and the best technology. We also have a vision and had a vision to be vibrant. And vibrancy, to me, my definition is what gets us out of bed in the morning and what gets us enthusiastically to come to work and make a difference. Not just a difference today, but a difference into the future. And global is what we're seeking to do in terms of our footprint. And there are a whole lot of good reasons for that, and we can discuss those separately or, in fact, at the Q&A. But to become truly global, we need to put together the elements of a high-performing business, and I'll talk about that in just a moment. So let's just go to 2015, and let's think through what's now happening. So now in 2015, we've established and we have very deep relationships with our clients. Okay, we had a few global clients on our books back in 2011. But the fact is now in 2015, those relationships have been cemented, they've been put together. So we've identified those global clients and our key clients, and we now have very deep relationships with them. As a result of that, 80% of our business now in 2015 is repeat business. So gone are those days of getting out there into competing against tenders out of the newspaper and the things that are not based on relationship, but they're simply based on numbers. We're still privately owned. We maintained that. We made the decision that our model, our whole model of involvement and ownership within was strong, and we kept it that way. And we realised that in doing that, we did give up some things. We gave up the ability to knock it around with the public companies who, if they want a little bit of capital, they get a bit of capital or a lot of capital, and they go off and buy anything they want, and they do. But we made a decision not to do that. We now have 11,000 employees around the world, and the significance is not so much the number, although obviously we've grown a lot, but it's the fact that we now have a footprint that is truly global. It's a true global platform. In terms of our people, we only employ the brightest and the best. And as we've gone on our journey, we've always been able to attract the brightest and the best. Our revenues have grown well over to 1.7 billion US. And again, that's to simply indicate this, that we now are global, that our spread is diverse, our spread is very strong. We're now recognised by our clients as providers of excellent solutions. Not just people who come in and do commodity work, not just people who do what everybody else does. And we've remained profitable. And the significance of that, and it is most significant, is it gives us the ability to reinvest. The only way we can grow as a private company is to continue to have funds that we can reinvest in the business. So proud to say now in 2015, I can report to you that we're still profitable. We're now working in over 100 countries. And what we've done is we've selectively gone into countries which have a future with Aurecon. So our strategy in 2015, we're on a trajectory, not for 5 years or for 10 years, but for 50 years. As these countries develop their natural resources and indeed build their infrastructure around it and become more prosperous, we intend to be there well beyond 2015. If you recall, in 2010, 2011, we became very much a strategy-led organisation. And that's driven everything that we do, everything around our One Aurecon business model, everything around our culture. So what are the elements now of a high-performing organisation? What sets Aurecon apart from our competitors? What makes us a high-performing organisation? There are three basic elements. Strategy. Direction 2015 is our cornerstone of strategy. The second element of the three is organisational design. And that's, in fact, the One Aurecon business model. And thirdly is culture. Culture underpins the other two in the sense that you can't move to a high-performing position, you can't execute your strategy, and you can't, in fact, embed a One Aurecon business model without a culture that supports it. So I won't dwell again on Direction 2015 other than let's remind ourselves of the 5 basic elements. They're not ranked, they're just 5 basic elements. First is to lead into the developing world. So let's now move back to 2011 and look forward. But if you recall, when we were in 2015, our move further into the Asian countries, our move into South America, and our move to continue into Africa. The second part of Direction 2015 is to grow and improve our businesses in South Africa and ANZ. And there's a fundamental reason for that. That's still our engine room. So we talked before about the need to continue our profitable performance. And it's not about shareholder wealth, it's about reinvestment as much as anything else. It's our access to funds. It's our access to our ability to continue to do the things that we wish to do. The third component there is to develop offerings of world renown. So when we were back in 2015, we saw transport, we saw mining. If you look at the industries that increased, we've become world renowned in 2015 at several things. And what that's done is it's lifted the Aurecon brand from a name, we think it's a great name, but into a full brand. And I can tell you that through the surveying that we're doing around the business, there is already strong evidence that Aurecon is moving very strongly now into a brand position rather than just a name. The fourth one, and it is very important in terms of the developing world, the flip side to that is that we want to put something back. So number 4 is about bettering the world in which we operate, and that is the developed world, but most importantly it's the developing world. So we don't intend just to go into an African country or a South American country and do as many others do, take what we can get and then bugger off. And if you look at Africa at the moment, the majority of revenue in our space goes back to America because the Fluors and others, and I'm not putting them down, but it's what they do, they go in, they take, and then they leave. That's not our model. Our model is to leave things behind and to make sure that we have a footprint that stays there. And last but not least, number 5, really, if I summed it up, is about getting back, as I mentioned before, about making the basic fundamental merger work. It's about making sure we don't take our eye off the reasons we got together in the first place, about going other places, about making sure we integrate.